Good evening. Good evening, y'all. This is Max 611. Welcome to In the Paint, really showing sports. My brother, Real Jones, Rodney Jones can't be with us tonight. So this is a special Wednesday night edition. It's 7 p.m. I'm waiting for my crew to get in here with me. So thank y'all for joining us. Thank y'all for supporting In the Paint. If you haven't, please do. Our YouTube channel is In the Paint Media Group on YouTube. So please, if you can, subscribe and join us. Waiting for everybody to join. Waiting for somebody to come in. Oh, there's one person right now. You ready to join in, Dom? I'm going to add you.
Can you hear me, Mac?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Brother?
What's up, kid?
How are you? I'm doing well.
Where's the rest of the crew?
I don't know. I'm waiting on them.
Lazy.
We add some things. So we ready to start it off?
Yes, sir.
New York Mets had to fire newly hired GM Jared Porter because of his Me Too moment.
Mm,
Did you check the story?
yes.
What are your thoughts?
Well, you know how I feel about that Me Too movement. But anyway, he should have. That's a Chicago Cubs problem. You know,
Well,
how did he dodge that bullet, Mac? Come on. That's all. I mean, I'm not defending him by no means. Trust me. I'm just
right.
saying this happened, long before the Mets hired him. Should the Mets have done some homework? I mean, I'm just curious. How did it come up now, but it was under the rug for how long? I'm just saying.
3 years. ESPN said on the story because the woman in question didn't want it out there, from what I understand.
Understandably, probably. I don't know. That kind of stuff just rubs me kind of the wrong way. This guy's sending pics, texts, but we got certain athletes that can beat up their spouses and do all sort of bizarre stuff. They get a 5-game suspension and we forget all about it. We had this conversation, Mark. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but we had that conversation.
Right.
So,
listen, for me, he working in at Fortune 500 companies, I've seen a lot of things happen. I've seen a lot of misappropriate things happen where people doing things they shouldn't do, and he has to be held to a standard different. And I mean, listen, I've been hit on. I've tried to talk to women, but I never went as far as to he harassed her, He got a number, understandable, you trying to kick it or whatever, but he went about it the wrong way. After the third text and she doesn't answer me, I'm gonna leave her alone.
that's what most grown folks would do, Mark. But again, is the standard set for just certain individuals? That's my only problem.
No,
I don't care if he lost his job.
Right.
He should have lost his job. But
yes.
I'm saying, where's the bar? What's the bar? Is the bar Texas? Is it harassment? Is it violence?
It's
Where's the bar?
well, you mean in the case of Major League Baseball, right?
Or any sport, Mark, any sport. There seems to be the bar is all over the place. That's what's scary, to be honest. Not defending this guy. Let me keep reiterating that. Not to defend him. I just want to know where the bar is. Is
Hmm.
the bar only for or only in? I don't know. It's just so damn confusing, Mark. We had this conversation, especially about Me Too and the NFL, and
Hmm.
how we pick and choose what battles we want to fight. Show some consistency. Let's just put it that way. Let's just have some consistency across the board in society, actually, Mark, not just professional sports.
Right,
In society, if that's the role you want to play, then have a standard and stick to it. Don't waver. Don't
right.
shut up when you want to shut up. So,
It
yeah.
it is. Um, Dom, it's like it depends on the person. Like if the person is a super big wig and can't be touched, they don't touch him, right? Or her, or whomever.
Mhm.
And if it's somebody lower on the totem pole, they get dealt with. But this guy, obviously, I saw that you text her 62 times, and it got progressively worse. You
And
sent
she
her
she she never responded to none of them, Mac.
none of them.
Wow.
So
See,
he
that's harassment, period.
right, right. So much so that she felt that when she saw him in professional settings at a baseball stadium, she would go and hide or go somewhere else where he couldn't be around her. And if you make somebody feel that way, you gotta go.
Again, Mark, I go back. You brought up the year 2016. This is
Right,
2021. I
right.
mean,
But also
I,
bear in mind, Dom, that sometimes women feel that when they do come forward, the victim suddenly becomes somebody who's looked at wrong. She's a victim, right? And they're gonna look at her as her being a problem, and her career gets tarnished for coming out and saying that this person is not a good person. He's not doing what we need to be done, here at work. And that's the case with a lot of women. It's that case with rape cases. A lot of times, women don't feel that they're believed when they say rape. And in reading articles and stuff on that particular subject, cops are like, yeah, okay, we'll look into it. And then, so a woman who is characterized as somebody who's a problem won't get another job.
but
And he because he's a man.
I thought, Mark, with all the yelling and screaming we have nowadays, I thought we would be on that. Maybe
Right.
I'm naive. I thought we were behind that with all these groups that jump on every bandwagon under the sun. You would think, I'm just throwing that out there, you would think that people, women especially, would feel more comfortable coming out because they have. We went back how many years with Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby? We went back years, Mark, where that
Right.
could have been questionable. How good is your memory after 30 years, 20 years? Now, granted, once you put it out there, Mark, like in the case with Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, if you put it out there and it gets kind of muffed, then there's a protection going on. We knew the protection of Harvey Weinstein. We knew the protection of Bill Cosby, R. Kelly. The list goes on and on. But it didn't stop for somebody to just say, you know what? Whether you believe me or not, this has to be put out there. And we've seen it, let's be honest, Mark, especially with Harvey Weinstein. We've seen a lot of people hugged up with him. that knew what was going on, and they got hush hush when this came out. See, so there goes your not no blue code of silence. This is your rich code of silence. You know, we ain't gonna dime on him. I might have thought Mark was doing. Yeah, we went to that road too, didn't we? Well, maybe, sort of, kind of, and all of a sudden it disappeared. All of those that were standing up in his face all those years did the silent treatment. The same with R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, and the list goes on, Mac. Let's just be honest. This guy, yes, somebody should have said something, I'd at least say 3 years ago. You know, this girl this woman, I should say, should have had enough where, you know what, I don't care if Mac don't believe me. I don't care if Dominic don't believe me. I got to tell somebody. This is getting out of hand. Because you put up with this, according to your soliloquy, Mark, 60-something, 80-something Texas. I mean, really? I'd have changed my number. Not that it made me feel better. She should have said something. But really, you can't stay silent. If that's the case, Mark, that all of this stuff we're hearing about moving forward, progressing, it's either, you know, bullshit or not bullshit. So you got to pick a side. I mean, come on.
Well, you know what? I read an interesting article from the young lady who covers the New York Mets, and she said she worked for Major League Baseball at one point, and they were working. I used to work at Giorgio Armani. She's working like across the street from us in the meatpacking district. She said that she met a fellow employee, a man, and they went out to lunch as colleagues, and he tried to kick it to her. Or, excuse me, he tried to, you know, get her to go on a date or whatever. And it progressively got worse, where dude just, he started texting her, emailing her. I guess they have an internal chat where you can talk to people. He was in her inbox, and she did the appropriate thing and went to HR. They fired him, but he reached out to some of her people on Facebook, and he also let her know that he knew where she lived. Now, really, dude?
But again, Mark, in this case you're talking about, which in most cases, whether somebody believes you or not, Mark, there's a digital footprint.
Yes.
With every case we're talking about, the texts, the intra memos, whatever, email, there's a electronic footprint that somebody, male or female, can say, look, let me hit this button. And it's not that hard to track it, Mark. I mean, come on. He could probably deny, oh, somebody tapped into my computer. Oh, come on. We get that lying shit. But there's a digital footprint to all of this. So whether somebody believes you or not, you could bring, if nobody believed you, Mark, and you was going after somebody, especially somebody as we are today, you know, we're always aiming at somebody. Okay? The police didn't buy it. I'm bringing it to the New York Post.
She did go to the police. The young lady that works for the Daily News and covers the Mets. See? She went to the police and put an order, and then it stopped.
Right. I mean, in all actuality, Mark, is somebody that's sending blank pics or nasty, you know, emails. Are they going to do prison time? I doubt it very seriously.
Probably not, no.
Right. There's no physical
but they can get fired.
Done. Right. You know, if that's the road you want to go down, dummy, then guess what? Then you're going to get fired. Again, everything.
And your career could be taken away.
Right. It's almost like the old days, Mark, where somebody wrote you a letter and, they were, you know, gunning for you or, you know, blasting you. You had the shit in your head. It's a lot easier now because you can carry this everywhere. There's no, Mark, now we got to check, you know, hand offhand analysis. No, this came from Mark Cunningham on
X day at
kind of
this
X
time.
time. Yeah. You know, if he wants to lie, of course, they could track IP addresses. We got a lot of, poopers and scoopers that do this for a living.
Yep.
And you put an end to it right then. I mean, I'm glad he got fired. I'm just bad that I'm happy the Mets did it as quick as they did.
Right.
But I wish everybody would get off of that. Oh, the Mets GM did. No. No, the Mets
They did due
fired him.
diligence.
Yeah, the Mets fired him after getting away with this for 5 years. So let's skip over the Met portion and
Right.
stay focused on who did this and how long
Where
he
they
got
did
away
it.
with it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Included in that story is she told somebody because she's not from our country. She's a foreign reporter. She spoke to somebody who worked for the Chicago Cubs, who was from her country, and he knew, but they didn't go. He sort of played middleman and really didn't. He didn't go and out the guy. He didn't go and out Jared Porter. So Chicago is now looking into that guy. He no longer works for them either.
Oh, I was going to say, did he get fired? Or he's already gone?
He's gone, but he may still work in Major League Baseball. Does he lose his job? Should he?
Well, a good example of this. Who's the coach that just got the job with the Jaguars?
I can't think of his name.
From Ohio State, and you know who I'm talking about.
I'll tell you in a second, but go ahead.
You remember the incident with the employee at his college? He was some kind of trainer or athletic something, jockstrap holder, whatever, and the situation he had with the domestic violence.
Right.
Okay, they went right to that coach. Well, he knew about it, and his comeback line was, well, I got a lot to worry about. I really didn't, whatever the case may be. And then all of a sudden, he resigns after a year. The coach, remember? He resigned. He claimed Urban Meyer. He claimed medical issues, and it went away. It went away, and now he's coaching in the NFL. Now, granted, like that guy you're talking about, Mark, that's why I brought it up. The guy that you say was a middleman may have had some kind of information on this. I don't care where he works. Let's find him. Let's see what he did. The same thing we did with Urban Meyer. The same way they shoveled it under the rug at Michigan State a couple of years ago when I met y'all with Izzo. All the issues they were having in Michigan State. You ain't hearing nothing about that no more, have you?
Right.
So
the coach at Rutgers, who's now coaching back there, Shiano.
Exactly. That's what I mean, Mark. I started this with, if you don't have a standard, if you don't have a bar, then you're all over the place. I mean,
right. Well, let me ask you this, Dom. This is sort of new, and not new, but so we are setting standards. The Mets set one by twice. Because remember, they hired Carlos Beltran and they didn't know about him and they had to fire him. And now this year, you got your GM who's sexually harassing a reporter. So are they setting a bar, or is it still too convoluted for you?
No. I will preference with the Mets did the right thing and they did it instantly. And of course, you know what was really strange about following this, Mark? This is why I hate social media. The Mets should have fired him at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah, that's that actor guy that said that. Yeah, he said that this is the timeline, Dom. They found out around 5:30 p.m. yesterday, or Jared did, and he went to Sandy and said, listen, blah, blah, blah. And he lied when he said, I didn't send, that wasn't a pic of me. That was, a joke. And so the report, I got news of the story at 11, around shortly after 11. One of the guys in the group posted it in the group, and I went and read the story, and then I was like, yo, they better fire him. And then I got a text from Carl. He was like, yo, look at this. And then in the morning, they fired him around 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. Sandy and the owner said they had to contact their lawyers. They had to investigate a little bit before making that move. But you knew that move was going to happen anyway.
Right.
Because it's so bad, and he copped to it.
Their bases. They covered their bases, right. Mark. They did their due diligence. By the time me and you woke up the next morning, this guy was out of a job. Okay. For you cray-crays, I think everything happens at the blink of you typing on Twitter. God bless you. I'm not knocking your hustle. I always say that. I'm not knocking your hustle, Twitter gangsters. But life really don't work like that. I give the Mets credit for doing their due diligence and getting rid of him as soon as the sun came up.
Right. So right. I got a story. When I was going to school, I worked in a bookstore when I was in college, and bookstore manager, he was a little out of control. We were a little out of control as a staff. We were doing things we shouldn't have been doing. But he also, as a manager, was doing some things he shouldn't have been doing. He got into an altercation with a fellow employee and started a fight. And the person was slightly handicapped. Mm. He also was in a relationship with a student who lived in the dorms. He shouldn't have been doing that. They fired him within a week. After they did they set us down and interviewed us, so we know about the girl. I was like, oh, check your records. We seen him with the chick multiple times. Did you see the fight? Yeah, he threw the book at the kid. He started it. And everybody else who was around and they interviewed, similar story. Yeah, he started the fight. He threw the book at the kid. He tackled him. Yeah, I seen him. I seen him around the school at midnight. So, yes, the Mets did their job in what they did.
Right. Good.
They did due diligence. You find out about something, like you said, it takes time to find out the parameters on getting rid of somebody. He won't be paid for his contract. He probably got paid for the 30 or so days that he worked for the Mets.
See, again, the Mets set a bar. Mm-hmm. Now, we can't look 5 years down the road, Mark. Will this bar continue to stay where? We can't do that no more.
Right.
It happened, due diligence, out of a job. Again, we apologize to all you Twitter gangsters that thought he should have got fired at 1 a.m. God bless you. God bless you. But he got fired. He was fired before you woke up the next day. They just didn't get it in print and in the news. They knew he was fired probably at 3 o'clock in the morning. He's gone. Right. They probably say we gotta get rid of him. They found out at 5:30 Monday. By 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, yeah, we gotta get rid of him. Yeah. But we're gonna dot our I's and cross our T's, because another thing the Twitter gangsters don't realize is if you don't do A, B, and C, you leave yourself open for some repercussions.
For a lawsuit.
So again, 2 thumbs up to the Mets, and they're moving in the right direction. And now again, they're setting a standard. Right. And to guys out there, listen, you are a GM. You could go to a restaurant and a bar. You got a World Series ring. You can't. You don't know how to talk. Yeah, let's just keep it real. Yeah. I'm Jared. I'm the GM for the New York Mets. I used to be the GM. I used to be somebody important with the Boston Red Sox. Here's my rings. It's no need to text somebody 62 times and they don't respond to you. Did you ever hear the story about, it was Derek Jeter Michael
Mhm.
Jordan and Tiger Woods.
Right.
Tiger Woods was young back then. I don't know
Mhm.
if it was in Jordan's book or Tiger's book. I forgot which book
Right.
it was. It might have been in Jordan's book.
Mhm.
And Tiger's telling them that he's, sort of gun shy of talking to women.
Right.
And Jordan and Jeter look at him like, you're Tiger Woods. We're not saying you got to go tackle somebody, but you're Tiger Woods. The door of conversation is automatically going to be open because you're Tiger Woods. Now, don't get it
Right.
twisted, Mark. We've seen the stories where people abuse their name and their power. But it
Right.
just
Right.
goes to show that even somebody like Tiger Woods, way back then, could it have been his shyness, Mark, or could it have been his radar going up and saying, this might lead me to, because remember, Mark, we're going back a while. That's when Derek Jeter was hate to say playboy. It was in between Jordan's marriages. And we know Mike had a little, flirtation going on with his drunken ass. But here's Tiger Woods, this young phenom. And he did the
Mhm.
same thing here at Fort Bragg. He used to come here for his training. That's
Right.
how he started getting all his regiment, because his dad was SF. He used to come here to Fort Bragg, work out with the SF guys, and they used to laugh at him. First, they used to say he was so cheap because they'd all go to
Yes, he is
lunch, and they would all go to lunch, and the waitress would say one check, or no, Tiger would say, yeah, separate checks. And they're looking at him like, oh, man, you're Tiger Woods. But again, though Tiger stepped on it years later with his infidelity, whatever, could it
Right.
have been his radar, Mark, where, wow, this name, where you said, Mark, somebody could say, I got a ring, I was the GM for the Red Sox, using that, was Tiger's radar up a little higher than most and saying, whoa, yeah, I know I'm Tiger Woods, and I'm a little easier for somebody to make me a target. This is what these guys don't
Right.
think about, Mark. They
Right.
don't. They
Right.
just say, I'm Mark Cunningham. I got a ring from the '86 Mets, and they wear that shit like jewelry. You got to be careful, Mark. And they're learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
When
learning.
I was in college, never a star. I was never a star. High school, I wasn't a star. But I had a nickname. Some people knew me, you know. I had a girl roll up on me, kiss me, you squirrel. I'm like, I am.
Yeah. Hey.
And I didn't have to, harass the girl. She came and hollered at me. And I pretty much have always moved that way, It's like, hey, you're Mark, right? Yeah, I am. And then
Now
it
knowing,
starts from there. The conversation starts from
right
there. And then I don't sit there once I get the number. I'm like, go run up.
now, pitch. I'm an honest individual, so I wouldn't even mind if my wife watched the podcast.
Right,
But I
right,
could remember a time at Fort Hood. I was at Fort Hood, and I
right,
worked at division headquarters. And there was
right.
this young black E5. I was at that time I was E5 too. Her name was Sergeant Johnson.
Hmm.
And just out of how things just come out your mouth, Mark, like somebody might walk by and you say, damn, well, she walked by me one day and I said, damn. And I saw her turn. And I was like, Sergeant J, I'm sorry. She said, no, what's the matter, Dom? I've always wanted to ask you this question. She said, well,
Right,
we're the same rank, so we don't work for each other because it can't be,
right.
fraternization. She said, well, what's on your mind? I said, how did somebody like you get to be in the Army? As gorgeous as you are.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not thinking about no lines, Mark. This is back in
Right,
probably the
right,
90s. I ain't thinking
right,
about no line. I don't think she was either. But just
right.
out of sheer, I mean, yeah, I'm married. I think she was married too. My
You were
only
married at the
question,
time?
yeah, and I think she was too.
Okay,
She was married. But I'm
okay.
just, again, Mark, it just came out. Like you see something and you think the
Right.
word damn is, not
I know.
coming out.
Right. And it came
then
out.
somebody turns around and then you're like, oh shit, they heard me. But she
Right.
actually confronted me because I had to ask her. There had to be a modeling job for you. Something. I'm not saying, just totally use your looks. I'm not saying you're dumb because you're beautiful and you didn't do. And you know what, Mark? We became best friends after that
Right.
because he was honest.
Right. That's like
now if I was single, she was single, then the tables turned. Because
right.
again, we didn't work for one another. Neither one of us outranked each other, so there was no way we could influence one another's career. The Army has some really weird rules considering all the bullshit they've gone through lately. But like fraternization happened to be one of them back then. That was really, a real stickler. But I tell you, Mark, she was probably one of the smartest, gorgeous females I ever met in the Army.
Right.
Serious.
Right.
Now remember, I was an infantryman. I had a short stint at working at division headquarters. Infantry, nothing but guys. Division headquarters, everybody, males, females, privates, majors, colonels, generals. So you got a big smorgasbord. Now here I am, the kind of oddball. So I'm looking at these women and I'm like, and her, again, Mark, the damn didn't mean to come out.
It came out.
But it came out. And in that little incident, Mark, in today's society, this is where I'm trying to go with this. In today's society, that might have been ran with. If Sergeant Johnson decided I didn't like the word damn, he must have been looking at my body, I'd have been out of a job. I'd have been put out the Army. In today's society, something as easy as damn. No harm behind it, Mark. Just damn. But we've gone. So have we gone too far, Mark?
Maybe, and the waters have been muddied. I got a similar story. One of my ex-girlfriends. The first time I saw her working in the bookstore.
Not the bookstore. The guy threw the book at somebody.
Yes, that bookstore. She came into. We had like a little storeroom right off of the selling floor. So she walked in. It was really like nobody in the store. And it was days before school started. So she walked in and me and my friend, we were in there chopping it up. We either talking about sports or hip hop. But she came in and she was like, excuse me. And he said, damn. And I said, oh, shit. And then I don't know if she heard us because we kind of caught ourselves. And then it became a race between me and him on how do I get him out of this conversation because she's pretty. And me and him both, we both started a conversation with her. And funny as it may be, he was going in the Navy like in 2 weeks. So I asked her, where are you from? She was like, I'm from Boston and I'm a military child because her father was in the military. I said, really? I got people in Boston. He's going in the Navy in 2 weeks. And he looked at me. He was like, because he knew he couldn't. She's staying here, so he's going away. So it made no sense for him to continue the conversation. Later on, he was like, "Yo, you cold for that?" I was like, "You'd have did the same thing, man." And then me and her
you're going away for a long time. So gone.
Right, and then me and her.
Somebody. Yeah.
Right, and then me and her started a conversation, and it continued till we started going out. But that's how I met her. I said, "Oh shit!" And she's probably the only woman that ever made me go, "Oh shit!" Nobody else has made me do that. And
just don't do that shit today.
Oh, I can't.
Don't do that shit. Hold on, let me show you.
Yeah, you can't do that today. In this day and age.
Earl says, don't do that shit today. You hear me, young man? Oh.
Right. And now I don't even, I do film production. So interviewing actresses, generally we'll have another woman with us to help us do this. And We film them. We film them now, especially with actresses. Sometimes we keep the door open
Mm.
because of the things this fool has done in the Harvey Weinsteins. And I had a person I wanted to work with like 2 years ago. I wanted to do something film wise with a person, with a young lady, and she called me like 9:30. I said, no, I'm not gonna answer that because it's after hours. No, I'll call her in the morning or something. Nope, I'm not responding to her email after a certain time. And these are some of the things I have to do to protect myself.
Right. Funny story,
Yeah.
Mark. This time I'm young, I'm single. It's my first time in Germany. So I meet this young lady from New York, she's from Long Island. I'll never forget it. Debbie Lawrence. We used to play ball together. She was an athlete. She was very attractive. So she
Okay.
invites me to her barracks. I'm like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I mean, Mark. I don't know how the Army got so far off of how it used to be.
Right.
So I go to her barracks, and they have what they call CQ, in charge quarters. You got to
Right.
go to this desk. Can't get by that desk. You got to sign a log. What room you're going to? They go down to that room. They get your guest, male or female, because this was a co-ed barrack. She worked in personnel. They go to her room. They get her. So we get to her room with doing something with the TV, watching AFN or something. And I said, Deb, the TV's kind of loud. Can we close the door? We might be. No. You can't close the door, and make sure your feet are on the ground. I'm like, where else are my feet supposed to be? I mean, unless I fall asleep and I fall off this chair, I hope you pick my ass up. She was like, no, can't close the door. And I don't mean crack, Mark. That door was open, like open door. And she said, and don't take your feet off the floor. Like, and then
was
I
she
looked,
Tom
Mark.
Coughlin?
Huh?
Was she Tom Coughlin? That's protocol.
That was the rules. She was just playing by the rules. And I didn't understand that then, because I'm like, again, Mark, I was in the infantry. We didn't have them problems. We went in our rooms. It was nothing but dudes. We closed the door, got drunk, do whatever we had, but not there. I'm like, open the door. And believe me, Mark, there's so many people in there. I'm thinking to myself, you know what, Deb? I would never let nobody come to my room. Serious, especially a guy. Because with your door open and 12 other doors open, how do y'all hear the TV? This is like insane. It was like you was in a concert, Mark. And then, of course, Germany had all the electronics, but they're cheap, so everybody had these super duper stereos, 901 Bose. And during a certain hour, they let you get a little buck wild. And then you had that cutoff time. I'm like, we better. I wish it was in today's society, Mark, that we could have went outside on the bench, had our iPads, watched what we wanted to watch. But I'm like, this is insane. I said, please don't let me fall asleep. If I fall asleep, slap the shit out me and let me get back to my barracks. I don't want my leg to, come off the ground and somebody come in there and start handcuffing me. That's what's so puzzling to me, Mark, how in these years that not just the Army, the military in general, have gone so far away from that in a time where it's more prevalent. I don't want to turn this into an Army conversation, but it's just ironic, Mark, that during a time where we're more aware of this, the Army and the armed forces have just gone totally bonkers. And I can't blame deployments and mental health issues, Kyrie Irving. No, I can't do that because it's more prevalent now. You should know better. And those that are hiding it, they're slowly but surely being weeded out. A lot of people lost their jobs in Fort Hood, Texas recently. I don't know if you tracked it with that girl that got murdered.
No.
A lot of people have lost their jobs because, like in the case what you're talking about with the Cubs, Mark knew, Dominic knew, and that's what happened there. There was so many people in the chain of command. Even if you didn't know, you should have known. See, the Army went back to the Army then. I don't care if you knew, Mark. You was in charge. You got to go.
Right.
It ain't no debating. It ain't no, getting on Twitter. You're out of a job. Just that damn simple. So
Right.
if it took something as serious as that, I mean, God bless this young lady. She lost life. But if it took something horrendous as that for the Army to rewind their tape and say, we never did it. Of course they did it, Mark. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. In the era we're in now, that's what was so confusing to me. But thank God they all lost their jobs. Some of them were lucky enough. They had enough time. They could retire. Some of them got 17 years. Well, we wish you luck in your next endeavors. You got to go home. But to get off that's yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, Carl is about to join us.
Hey, not Carl from Twitter.
Yes, my brother. I just sent you the link, Carl. Yeah, when what was I gonna say? Going back to my college days, the guys' dorm, we didn't have somebody sitting at the doors. We had two entrances to our dorm. We didn't have anybody sitting there, taking down what room a visitor was going in. But in the women's dorm, they did. Like they had somebody you had to sign in the book. I think you had to leave your ID and go visit whoever you were visiting. And that kind of worked. But, it's
See, now where I was at, Mark, we didn't do that. We was a little more gully. Again, we lived in a different world. We was them infantry, bugged out young men to begin with. Somebody came to visit you. They'd be like, I'm going to see Mark. He's in room 210. All right, go ahead. And hopefully nothing happened. Then they would track room 210, and then we're all in trouble. But when I went to their barracks, Mark, and I started thinking to myself a couple of visits, like, I know I'm young, but this shit ain't too safe. She was like, what do you mean? I said, excuse my French, y'all mothers only got one way in, one way out. Oh, what if something happens? Y'all got to jump out windows? I never thought of that. I'm like, think about it. I came up a stairwell. I seen a million other doors outside leading me into the building. They were locked, chained. And I'm like, I come up the door, go to your room, come back, go down. God forbid a fire happens. What do y'all do? Really? Do y'all jump out windows? Have y'all trained to do this? Get sheets, jump out windows. We are the Army. I know we train. Are y'all training for like escaping? No. Oh, I stopped going over there. I was like, yo, we got to go to the park. This is scary. Y'all got people that are like FBI agents. What they going to do next? Fingerprint us when we come in the door? I said, that's it for me. Great girl. Kept in touch with her even after I left Germany. But I was like, I don't know how they live like that, man. It's totally insane.
Yeah. And what I wanted to say is me and R have become acquainted with a lot of different media types, both men and women. And you got to just watch how you move. Saying the wrong thing can get you fired. I'm going to bring Carl in. What's up,
another good thing, Mark? Hey, Carl, pleasure to meet you. I can hear him.
Uh-oh, bro. As my cousin would say, you looking like music. Soul child.
I'm going to start singing. I can't hear him. Is he talking,
We
Mark?
can't hear you. We can't hear you, Carl.
Can you hear him, Mark?
Nah, speak, Carl. Speak, music. Sing to us. Oh, your mic is muted. You got to unmute your mic. Your mic is unmuted. I still can't hear you. Dom, can you speak, Dom?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Carl,
can you hear me?
Speak?
Bro?
We still can't hear you.
Might be the headphones.
Yeah,
The mic
yeah,
on the
I know,
headphones might not be.
because I know he wanted to rail in on the New York Mets GM.
Oh.
Still can't hear you, Carl. Let me see something. Try talking now, Carl. Still can't hear you. Yeah, Dom. He's gonna come back.
Oh no!
When he comes back, we
The
can
first time I met
revisit
him,
that. Yeah, we're
he
gonna
be, he
move
be, he
on.
be, he goes back and
What?
forth with me sometimes. He goes back and forth with me sometimes on Twitter,
Yeah, yeah.
which
That's
is
my.
great.
I've known Carl for like I would say 30 something years. That's
Wow,
that's
he don't even look 30 years old. I know I'm getting old, Mark. God damn.
yeah. It's yeah. I met him. I was like 2021 when I met him.
Wow.
Let's move on because we've talked 40 minutes on the New York
Ooh.
Mets, Jared Porter, sexual harassment, men out there. Listen, you have to be careful in this world. Also to the ladies, be more assertive in outing these guys who muddy the waters for good people like me are and Dom. You know, some of us out here aren't always on the hunt. We aren't, just Jared Porter was a scumbag.
Yeah, let's just call a spade, Mark. Exactly.
He's a scumbag, and he used his power to harass this young lady, and he harassed her so much, Dom, that she quit becoming a reporter, and she went into finance. So
She changed her job, but he continued his for
yeah,
5 years,
and she moved back to her country.
and he got a promotion. Figure that one out.
And fellas, people who see call us back. Let's add them. Yes, sir.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, very clear,
Touchdown.
Mizzy.
like the commercial says. Can you hear me now?
We were gonna move on, but I know you wanted to expound some things on the New York Mets and the firing of Jared Porter. So the floor is yours.
Well, actually, I kind of was, when I had myself muted and then you guys couldn't see me, I heard what Dom was weighing in on, and actually, Dom, what you were saying, it's relevant. It connects because there's a culture in place now where it's always with this kind of like this both sidesism, and like you said,
Right.
things are they should have known what was going on with this guy. It's like, how did that not come up, from vetting him? But
Right.
I will say this, and it's just my personal opinion. It's that frat boy culture and this whole analytic culture with all these guys that was probably never good enough to play, and they getting their little shot to kind of rub elbows and get in the mix. Because if you look at it, he was Theo Epstein's boy, the boy
Right.
wonder. And when you see the pictures, he's kind of like, rubbing elbows with him. Because I was like, where did this guy come from? That the Mets, and all these teams keep falling for this pixie dust that they think is falling off these other guys. Like if Mark is building something, right? And I come and I'm just Mark's underarm deodorant. They ready to give me a shot just because I was, because Mark sweated on me, and then you got and I know I'm segueing into a different sport, but then you look at a situation like you got the guy. I'm going to football now, so you got the guy like Bieniemy, who and I kind of gave Mark some text the other day because it kind of bothered me when I saw the whole Jared Porter thing go down. And Bieniemy, when he was at Colorado, now think about it, Dom. Think about, and I know you're a service guy and everything, but think about a lot of the knucklehead stuff you did when you was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like before you became 20, when you were 20, maybe, you know, when you start to kind of even out, mature a little bit. So Bieniemy, I think he had a barroom fight when he was 18 or 19. He was in college. He had got arrested for speeding. He had some type of verbal altercation with a fireman at his mom's crib. And we always know there's nuance to stories. So you don't know what the fireman could have said, and that turned into something else. You just never know. And he got I think the latest thing he had was a DUI, like in 2001. So
Right.
this guy's 51 years old now, right? He's married. He's got 2 kids. And honestly, he's just probably doing stuff that a 51-year-old man would do. Take care of his family, work, and just try to make an honest living. And now he can't get a shot to even maximize an opportunity, maximize or get an opportunity to be the best that he can be, because they're holding stuff against him from years ago. Like they're saying, oh, he didn't interview well. And I'm like, what are y'all asking him in the interview?
Yeah.
Like, he knows X's and O's.
Right.
So what are you asking him? I mean, that's akin to Bum Bill O'Brien talking about Deshaun Hopkins' baby's mamas. And I'm like, dude, he catching 100 passes a year. He not missing no games. You ain't got child support people showing up at the game to arrest him. So what is your problem? So it's kind of like they just have this different approach depending on who it is. And I'm just saying that to say this. How did this dude get that far, Porter, without them knowing his background? And, I don't like to get into physical traits or anything like that, but I was telling Mark, he just looked like the chubby loser dude who didn't know how to talk to girls. Because this is what gets me. If you're around women and you know, like when you're younger, yeah, you might be trying to show off and say whatever, but then you start to realize that ain't the way to go. So if you got some game, you can kick it, you can talk to a woman, and if you got game, a woman can not be interested in you at first and start to gain interest because you're saying something worthwhile. And then this fool is sending her pictures talking about, oh, well, they weren't of me. And I'm like, dude, like you went
and you have that on your phone.
He sent a picture of you, Mark, so you can imagine what that looked like, right? That would be funny when you look at him and look at you. Yo, you want this? And she was like, "No, that ain't you, homeboy." But anyway, it's just this. Like, how can I say this, man? Because I'm just in a weird place where all this stuff is intersecting, where sports, the culture, everything that's going on in society, it's just like this it all weaves together. And sometimes I feel like sports can be a microcosm of things that are going on in the country. So this guy, and I'll just say this, and I'm saying this sarcastically, his supreme mediocrity was going to be the GM of the Mets. And it just amazes you how some of these organizations, they keep making the same mistakes. Like,
this is second. Second time for the Mets.
Yeah, and when Mania was somebody. Yeah, and think about this: when Mania was there, right? Mania started changing the culture, but you know what they had an issue with? It was like, okay, he's bringing in too many Latin players. Everybody's signing is Latin, but guess what? They weren't relevant for a minute, and then he got them exciting and playing again. Then the next thing you know, as soon as they hit a speed bump, he got to go. And I mean, tell me, y'all didn't think this guy knew talent? He knew how to make deals? But then it's always somebody that's nose is runny and he got no experience. You give them the keys to the castle. And then you had Alderson sitting up there having to explain it. Well, we did this, that. No, you didn't do anything because you would have known what this dude's resume was. You know?
Right. And then I think they asked Alderson, because he brought it up. He said we didn't, because there's a dearth of women in the high positions in baseball, that they didn't ask any women about him. So I think, to Dom's point earlier, Dom said, what's the parameters now? What are we doing? And that should be a parameter now. You need to interview the highest ranking women of certain organizations about somebody. before you bring them in if you're going to vet them.
Yeah.
But I got to give the Mets, and I'm not trying to give nobody no get out of jail free card, because me and Mark started out this with a standard. If you have no standard and you have no bar, then it's going to be what it is. I hate to sound so coy about it. But when it comes to the vetting process, if you notice the two incidences with the Mets, Beltran, and now this clown, these things surfaced after they hired him.
Yep.
It's not like me, Carl, and Mark, we knew about this for, 5 years, and we're scratching our head saying, this guy was Harvey Weinstein. And now all of a sudden the Mets hire him. I understand the vetting process, don't get me wrong, but I also understand that the Mets don't have the NSA working for them either. They do their best. They did some of it. In other words, they did great due diligence when they found out about this. Let's keep it real. Me and Mark had that conversation too. They found out about it. He was gone by the morning. Now, we could all be a little hypothetical, glass half empty type. Well, did they really just find out? I don't know, but I do know that if this was surfacing since 2016, then damn it, the first onus belongs on the Cubs.
Yeah.
Right.
Real. Where were y'all at? Like all the Hollywood geeks that were huddled up with Harvey Weinstein until the shit hit the fan, and then they were like, "Oh, I really didn't know Carl. We just took a picture together." No. Don't try to put the banana in the tailpipe with me. We get it. You've been busted.
Yeah.
Now you got to backtrack. We get it. But that's the one thing the Mets didn't do with Beltran and this clown. They found out and said, "You got to go."
I think with the, but also too, like, and that's why I made sure that I mentioned Epstein and the whole boy wonder, frat boy, kind of mold that they're in. And I think that it was probably an atmosphere there. And I'm just speculating, but sometimes it's not hard to put two and two together, that was probably a type of atmosphere. And these guys, when they come in, a lot of these guys are not going to, stand on their own. They're just going to morph. They're going to be like water. Whatever the shape is there, if you pour them in that's what they'll become. So I think it was an atmosphere that was probably there. He was imitating the atmosphere, or I'll put it like this: whatever he was doing, if he was still there, they thought it was okay. You know what I'm saying? And then that put him in a position to get to the next level. And then the other thing is, you don't even think about, like, this is something that will come back and bite him, or whatever the case may be. But for him to behave that way, and he was quote unquote kind of an underling at that time. Yep. So you think it's cool for you to harass, a female, reporter, whatever the case may be. So when you get little bits and pieces of things, I'm kind of inclined to think that she was probably some foreign reporter, and he started mashing on her, and he just probably figured she had no defense mechanism to tell anybody. Because the whole thing is like this, like, I just can't understand how he kept coming at her like that and then sending her the pictures. You know what I'm saying? Like that to me is just crazy. Like even with Whack Brett Favre, what he did to the Jen Sturger girl, whatever her name was. Remember the girl? Yep. Yeah, I like, Brett, you ain't got no game. Like I remember reading a book by the late great Ralph Wiley, and he said that he talked about it when he went to cover OJ in Buffalo, right? And he said, he was all excited to go cover OJ and stuff like that. And he said OJ was the whitest black dude he ever met. Because he said these chicks was on the sideline and they was walking, and up in Buffalo, what's up in Buffalo? And he said Juice was gonna holler at the girls. So he said, he knew he went to SC and everything, and he was up by Oakland. He figured, he ready to kick some game. He said, Juice said, "Yo, hey you come over here," and he said, "Suck my C word." And Wally was like, my mouth dropped. Because he was like, Juice, you ain't got no more game than that. And then I laugh and I say, you know what? But he didn't have to because of who he was. But then, but I mean that just goes to show you it's a culture, and it's weird and it works two ways too, because I think sometimes when you get some of these women that get in positions, and if they've been in it for a while, they could be on some other stuff too. Not necessarily with some sexual harassment, but did you hear Jackie McCollum, who writes for the Boston Globe, and she's been on ESPN? She's insider with the NBA, talk about Kyrie's property on the Bill Simmons podcast. Like, Kyrie needs to understand that he's property and he can be traded, wherever. So basically, he nees to behave.
Right, and property.
That's what she said. Property.
We saying that in 2021.
In 2021, but it was apropos.
Weird coming from her. That's kind of weird coming from her, because she's always been, well renowned, especially in the basketball world.
Exactly. But I kind of feel that Go ahead. I'm sorry, Dom.
No, I was going to say, not to switch horses, but since we're talking about that, the only thing that throws me for a loop with Kyrie is because of the world us three live in.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the world now. Let's put all the other issues aside. We're in a world now where some people aren't fortunate enough to go to work. They're depending on somebody to give them nickels and dimes to make ends meet. Now, I understand you may have an issue, but you also have a commitment. So if your mental issue, and trust me, I would never, you heard me say this before, Mark, I would never mention or badmouth anybody for any kind of mental issue. I suffered PTSD for years, never got no help, finally caved in, blah, blah, blah. But there's got to come a point, and not just with Kyrie, with other people too, especially athletes, where is your commitment to this greater than your commitment to that? There's going to come a time where you got to it or get off the pot. I'm not saying you can't do both, but if you're doing what he's doing, no knock on him. He's doing what he's been able to do. But there is such thing as a commitment. They're paying you $33 million a year. I'm not going to use Jackie's terminology, but they are paying you to do said task. If your social issues, your mental issues are interfering with that, then there's a fork in the road. We're all grown men on this line. There's a fork in the road. Which fork do you want to go down? Sometimes you can't have it both ways, guys. And I look at it again in today's world where there's millions of people that have been forced not to go to work. So it's bad timing for me looking at that right now. I don't know if that makes sense, but to me, it's just a very bad look where there's people out here suffering, financially, and financial problems will lead to mental problems, will lead to distress in your family. And you could just sit back and say, I don't feel like going to work. There's too many cobwebs in my head, and still get paid. And I think, and we had this conversation before, Mark, not to get on the basketball, but is this the reason the NBA's ratings have been dropping for the last 7-8 years? It's become more fockery than basketball, and I'm not afraid to admit it. That's the reason I love watching Kevin Durant play. Though he's not on the Knicks, I love watching him play because he gives me what I'm looking for. He goes out, he balls, he goes home, come back tomorrow, ball some more. You could be having a pickup game at the Rucker Park, and Kevin Durant will show up. That's what I look for as a fan, guys. I'm not saying everybody should feel that way. That's just me as a fan. I pay to see NBA League Pass. I don't want to get involved with all that other stuff and where's Waldo, where's Kyrie. I just want to see a basketball game, fellas. I mean, $248.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But I think what it is, Dom, you're making a valid point, and I will say, Kyrie's a good dude, and it's a lot of stuff that he's done that he doesn't really try to bring attention to. But you have to kind of be able to establish like some type of medium, because, like you said, you are being paid handsomely, and you playing basketball allows you to buy George Floyd's family a house. It allows you to drop 1.5 mil for the WNBA players that sat out due to the bubble. So what you're doing, it is affording you a certain lifestyle. Now I understand he may look at himself where he doesn't feel like he's above the fray, and all of these things that are going on affect him, or he cares deeply. He's got some sense of community and caring about his folk. But what you're saying is true, and that's throughout the whole league. But he's got to be able to find
A balance.
some type of balance between the two, because his activism, I laud him for that, because he was actually on, like, it was funny because when people posted him on the Zoom call that night, they was trying to clown him, but he was actually on a Zoom call for this Palestinian lawyer that's running for Manhattan DA, and she's running against crooked ass Cy Vance, who had a chance to put, to bring charges with Trump back in the day, and he didn't. So that part of it. But then the thing is too, it's a bad look when your team is taking the floor against the Denver Nuggets that night, and you're on the Zoom call, because the thing is, it's kind of like the two things are intersecting. But like you said, that's that fork in the road. You make it. You have to make a decision, because at the end of the day, you figure about prorate that $33 million over 72 games. So you know what I'm saying. So it's like, yeah, you just chilling the game, but that's some guap. And whoever you wanted to help now, or whatever you wanted to do, that's some guap you ain't getting. But I'm sure if you would have came to the team and you would have said whatever, like whatever was going on, but it was kind of like the way he did it as well. Like you said, you're not knocking anybody, especially being a serviceman, about anybody having PTSD. And I'm sure, even though we all walk around and feel like we experience it, is nowhere close to the level you would experience it. You know what I'm saying? And what? No, I'm sorry.
The only thing I was going to say, Carl, is what you're saying. I'm not a big LeBron fan, because I'm a Knicks fan.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about what Kyrie's doing and all that he's done, LeBron has done the same thing when it comes to work. This is where, the apples and oranges just don't get in the same bag.
Right.
There's
Also,
plenty of people that are out there doing what they need to do, helping, whatever. I don't care if you're helping at a food kitchen. You're helping at a food kitchen, but your ass still going to work Monday, like LeBron is doing. All LeBron has done and continues to do, he shows up on the court.
Right. Just like we
That's
like to bash. Right. We like to bash James Harden for going to strip clubs and being out of shape, but he doesn't miss games. He's very, very active in the community. He does a lot for a lot of different. He's done a lot of different things in Houston, and we bash him for going to the strip club.
Or looking like
he's never missed. Or looking like he should go to a couple of strip clubs.
Yeah,
or why to a strip club? Maybe he'll learn to talk and loosen up and not miss so many games.
And teammates of James Harden have said that he brought a sense of camaraderie to the team by getting certain gatherings, whether it be to a strip club or not, or to eat. But
I ain't gonna lie.
He's always been accountable on the floor.
If you at the end of the bench and you ain't got no paper, you loving those outings. But I will say this. Dom. And I get your point. It has to be a medium. But also, I'll say this about Kyrie. I said this to Matt. I think it was last year when they were going into the bubble, and he was making his commentary. I would listen to Kyrie and hear what he had to say. I said, but I wouldn't follow him anywhere because he's flighty, and he's flaky. And that doesn't take away from his character. That's just who he is. Like it's another cat that plays for the Celtics, right? Who's bout it, Jaylen Brown. And I don't hear a lot of people talking like Jaylen's. He's improving his game, but he's not at a superstar level. But homeboy, he got in his car and drove down to, when they were marching, drove 14, 15 hours from Boston to Atlanta, because he's from Georgia, when they were out there marching. And then he was one of the people that was saying when the guys said they weren't playing in the bubble, he was one of the people, him and George Hill, that were actually at the forefront of that. So it's a lot of guys, and I get what you're saying, Dom, but that's why it has to kind of be a balance for Kyrie, because you got guys like Jaylen Brown and LeBron. They're saying they with their movements and the things that they're doing, they're all about social commentary. They're bringing awareness, but they're still coming to work. They're not saying, "Hey, I can't work because of this." They're using the platform to, to put their message out. And I think with Kyrie, as you notice, all you got to do is sometimes look at somebody's track record. And Kyrie has a way of saying things and doing things that you kind of feel like is left. Because think about it, when LeBron, when they won the championship in Cleveland, and then Kyrie got hurt a couple times, things like that. Then the next thing you know, he got hurt that last year, and then he comes back in the offseason, he wants to be traded. He wants his old team, right? Guess what? They honored him. And then for all of the skill and talent that he has, he went to Boston, got hurt, and then they end up making it to the Eastern Conference Finals without him.
Twice.
And then he alienated these dudes. He alienated these dudes so much that they didn't even want to play with him anymore. And then that ended up creating a situation. It was like a blessing in disguise that he's got hurt, because that meant Brown. Remember, because Gordon Hayward got hurt that first game. So that meant Brown and Tatum ended up developing, and who knows how the development would have been stunted if Kyrie never got hurt and he was still there. And then, so things kind of happened. So his personality is probably tough to deal with. I think at times I don't think that could take away from his skill and his heart. But like with anything, Dom, me and you could be good, right? And me and you could work together. We sit next to, and Carl's a good dude. He'll talk about this. He said he did this weekend. We might have went to a game or whatever. But the work is piling up on my desk because this dude, he calls out. You know what I'm saying? This dude leave early. So, I understand your point. I do understand your point.
And,
but then,
the funny thing is, Carl, not to cut, but Mark could attest to it. When all of that bubble stuff was going on, that was the first time in my life I ever stood up for Kyrie.
Yeah.
You don't need to be playing. And then he had a couple of people jump on that bandwagon, remember?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that May 15th deadline came where the checks were going to end. And all of a sudden it was like Wu-Tang appeared, where the cash rules everything around me. And everybody forgot what Kyrie said. Remember?
Yeah.
Mark had this conversation. He had a
that's
great
true.
point. One, we're not in a very safe environment. I don't care if we're in a bubble and we're in a NASA suit. It's not a very safe environment because that's when COVID was first kicking in. And me and R was adamant against anybody playing. And then Kyrie jumped in. I'm like, whoa, this guy's not as flat earth as I thought. And remember, guys, he had a few people that jumped on that bandwagon.
Right.
That May 15th date. And what happened? The bubble's open.
Yeah.
But Ronan in our YouTube channel, he said Kyrie is probably bipolar, but the media is always digging for more info, and they cover these players like they're movie stars, and these players shouldn't be putting all their business on social media, knowing that the media will rip them apart the first chance they get. And he also says the media also has a bad habit of ignoring the negative behavior of front office personnel like Jared Porter and others as well, and they get job after job despite being reprobates.
Yeah. So I guess building on what Ronan what he said, next time when we have these bad behavior GMs, we can call them just like Jared, right? On the Subway commercial.
You are funny.
Again, great example, Carl. And there was a standard then. Carl, I don't want to curse, but Carl, you fucked up. You disappeared.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
I told Mark this before. The more we illuminated stuff and became, as the youngins say, more woke, it seemed like the woker we got, the more shit went under the carpet. I'm like, okay, we're either woke or we're asleep. I don't know which one it is. And there can't be no medium there, fellas. You're either woke or you sleep. And Ronan's right. The more of your business you put on social media, don't try to backtrack it. Like I told you earlier, Mark, there goes that digital footprint.
Yep.
Say this, And then when you get put on the blast for it, say, well, you know what, Mark, I really meant no. Oh, that's why social media is more of a curse than it is a gift now. Because it allows you to say whatever the hell you want to say. And somebody brought up a good point, not to get winded. Somebody really got upset. Again, the people that have real mental issues got kind of upset with Paul George. He started getting depressed because he couldn't go home. He missed this. I get it, guys. Don't get me wrong. Trust me, I know that portion of the game. But that's not mental illness. Don't put everything in a mental illness box, because then you're sort of shitting on people, if I can say, that have real mental issues.
Yeah. It's kind of like they easy passing them. Like they're not really letting them be in the forefront like they should. You're right, man. And we live it. It's weird because we living in this kind of world where stuff gets conflated, and you know, it's, how can I say this? When like you have Paul George, he said what he said, but okay, you know what? When I go away for I usually travel with my wife and my son. My son's on the spectrum, so a lot of times he's just with me. Man, when I go away for 2 or 3 days, or if I go for my most of my family is down south, I go visit them. Sometimes, man, I have left Thursday or Friday, and it's Saturday, and I miss this dude. You know what I'm saying? So I understand where Paul George is coming from with that, but that's not, you know, Carl is bugging or he got some type of mental illness. You know what I'm saying? It's like this dude, and here's the other thing, like with Paul George situation. You know what? You got to understand. Paul George is a LA dude. So he's from Cali, right? So guess what? You get to play for your team, that you play for a team that's in your backyard where you came up, because you had to play for Indiana, and then you played in OKC, which some of us would say is the middle of nowhere. But anyway, so now you go to LA, you playing in your backyard, you know, you loving life, and then COVID hits, and then you got to go to Florida, and we know everybody's crazy in Florida. But then only when you get to Florida, you quarantine. Like you got it. Like people not understanding. If you haven't been to the resorts, the way they have that thing set up, it was the bubble where they play and those hotels.
Yeah.
And even though they had acres where you can go out there and play golf, you know, I don't know if any of you guys are comic buffs. It's like the Inhumans on the moon. You had your own area, but it was still a bubble, and you was just in a certain section. And if you left out the bubble, you was not getting no oxygen. So, you know, I understood it. Dom, you're right. We get into this thing where we start to conflate things, and we're not doing what's the word I'm looking for? It's not an equal comparison, because they're starting to equate like mental illness with certain things, and that's just a human nature. This dude missing his family, you know, missing his wife, missing his son, missing his nice house. You know what I'm saying? Like think about it. Yeah, like I went to a couple of bubbles.
I went to a couple of bubbles, Carl. There wasn't no golf. They could have been called golf courses. There was a lot of sand. Wasn't no grass, but
I feel you on that.
Plenty of them golf courses, but it wasn't a bubble.
Yeah.
So to me, again, I always got to take myself out of my career and others' careers, because again, I chose my path. They chose their path. Mm-hmm. But don't use that, because guess what, guys? When he started playing good, went away. Mommy, I miss home. I need my pajamas, and all of that went away. Remember? And this is where people were like, okay, man, you know, there's a difference between mental illness, and let's be real, guys, we're grown men. There's a difference between mental illness and just straight up whining. You know, there's still are grown folks that whine. Right. Let's not get too far off track. Some grown people just whine, like to hear themselves bitch. And he got caught.
Yeah, but you know what it is too, Dom? It now, and as you mentioned before, and I agree with you, and I'm not gonna get on my minister soapbox here, but you know, social media can be the devil, and it can be the devil in the sense that, like, where I need it, like, say me and you, we either play on a team or we interact in some type of way, right? So it might be a situation where it's something that I can, you know, I need to say to you, or I feel a way about something. Now I have an outlet to just spill it without even engaging you directly. You know what I'm saying? Like I have a way to put something out there in the ether, and then it's crazy because it might be it could just be my opinion, but I never took the time to hash it out with you. And then the next thing you know, they be like, yo, Dom is shady or Mac is shady because Carl said this about him. And just because I fired the first salvo, everybody's rocking with me. And then it depends on how you come back. And then after that, oh, they beefing. And this dude had this meme, and it was too funny. He mentioned rappers, but I kind of felt like it was encompassing everybody. He had these two dogs, right? And it was a wooden fence. And the wooden fence stopped right here. They would both look like German shepherds, right? Or some type of mix of shepherds, like mutts. But the fence came right here, and they were their heads. And one dog was going, and then he started growling at the other dog, right? And they both barked. Neither one of them bit each other. They just barked at each other's face for like 30 seconds. And then they both sat there and they wagged their tail. And then they started barking again. And the guy said, this looks like rappers beefing today.
Right. Let's move on. Staying in the baseball lane, the New York Yankees re-signed second baseman DJ LeMahieu, and they acquired starting pitcher Corey Kluber. What do you guys think of these two deals?
Let Don go first.
Where's Rodney? That's all I want to say. Is
where's
I
Chandler?
Myself out. Yeah, and Chandler. Yeah.
Are they Yankee fans?
Yes, but Chandler said
they're always bashing the Yankees.
Right. They both said that.
Though?
They both said that they don't like Cashman and the owner.
I don't either, but I will say this: like I don't really. Sometimes I always joke with people and say I don't trust Cashman with the pitching because sometimes they would. Right. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't trust him with the pitching, but I will say this: he's done a better job, and they're not the same old Yankees where they would just go out there and be like fantasy and go get the dude that had the best stats last year and put him on their team, even though he's not a good fit. Like when they traded for LeMahieu was kind of like a throw-in in that trade they made. And LeMahieu, people thought LeMahieu couldn't hit because they thought it was Coors Field. But he turns out to be a player. And he's one of the dudes that I'll be honest with you that they can't afford to lose. Right. And then I think the Kluber deal, like, and you got to inform me, Matt, because I haven't been paying attention. Is Kluber like a 1 year, 2 year deal, something like that? 1 year deal, 11 million. There you go. Give Kluber, give him a prove it deal, and then he's gonna go out there. He's gonna go out there and pitch, and do his thing. And I'm gonna stop trying to be long with it. I just want to say this because this is my first train of thought. I do like the fact that Cashman had started to actually build back the farm system. Because when I saw the Yankees playing 2-3 years ago, I said to one of my boys that he's a Yankee fan, he live in Alabama. I said, dude, when you seen them dudes take the field and ain't nobody over 30? When the last time you seen them dudes take the field and all these dudes are south of 25 years old? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like most of the players or the core were young guys. And what Cashman's done, think about it. That year they traded Cashman. They traded Aroldis Chapman. He knew they wasn't going nowhere, but the Cubs wanted him for their run. And then he got Gleyber Torres and all these other cats, and then they re-signed him. So he's actually doing some things that probably work now that they wouldn't have done it the way before. Like as long as the son don't think he's George II and start with the bluster, they're good. Because the best thing that ever happened to the Yankees was when George got suspended and Stick Michael was just able to do baseball stuff. And sometimes, and that's what you need. You need baseball people. You just don't need people sitting up there saying, do this, do that, because the Yankees were doing that every year. I remember when the Yankees were making the runs, but they had that little run where they would make it to the LCS, ALCS, or the World Series, and they wouldn't win. But every year, 1 year it's A-Rod, then it's Giambi. And I told him, I said, yo, they signing all the dudes that they was kicking their ass. Like, why you need these dudes? You was beating these dudes' ass. And guess what? You got these dudes, and what happened? You still ain't win. Because they wasn't winners.
But the funny thing about Yankee fans, And I always try to tell Mark this. Fortunately, I'm old enough to have seen plenty of World Series. So I don't live and die off of that. I want them to win, don't get me twisted. But here's the weird thing. Name me a front office person that has won 2 World Series, 4 ALCSs, and never won Executive of the Year. It's Brian Cashman.
None. Cashman.
Brian Cashman is the only one that has accomplished all of that. Again, I'll go back to your other soliloquy. We put Theo Epstein on this platform because the Red Sox won a World Series for the first time in 135 years. And all of a sudden, he's the GM of the year, the decade, the future. But there sits Cashman. And then you got them other Yankee fans that say, why are we going out and getting these old bums? Why can't we build through the farm system? Then when we build through the farm system, here goes the other side of their heads. Oh, man, we should have got Carl. We should have got Mark because they hit 20 home runs last year.
Dom, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you.
Because those that didn't do it, I told us, Mark, those that didn't do their research on LeMahieu,
he's the man.
Apologize. Yeah, we apologize for your lack of knowledge.
Man.
Right. Have smart devices, use them for something other than Twitter gangsters, and research this guy. He's always been a hell of a hitter. Let's just be
and
honest.
A fielder.
Right.
So and he played everywhere too in the field.
And guess
First,
what?
second,
the Yankees got him on the cheap because he wanted to be a Yankee.
And they still getting him sort of on the cheap. 6 years.
They are getting him on the cheap. He's only getting like $15 million a year, 18 million a year.
And think about this, Dom. Every time when it's been the middle of something big for them, who's been the dude? It's been him. Remember that game against Houston with the 2 outs and he hit the home run to right field? And I kept saying whenever something was in the mix, it was this dude making a play in the field. And sometimes, you know what, man, like I said, a lot of us we get caught up in Twitter, we get caught up in the stats. I was dead set against, like, even though I love Giancarlo Stanton, I was dead set against that trade. Because I said we don't need 2 dudes that's gonna strike out 300 times. Him and Judge. You know,
that's another bet. That's another, because if you look at numbers, I'm a numbers junkie because I ain't got no job like Tommy. But so I have plenty of time. But if you ever look at Stanton, he's never had years like he had until he came to the Yankees. Because all of a sudden the Yankees tried to create this Bronx Bomber mentality that it was home run or bust. Gleb Torres went from the most highly touted kid coming out of high school, college, minor leagues, to a great ball player his first year for being a rookie. So all of a sudden, he's opening up his stance. He's falling on the ground because he's trying to pull a home run to left field. How did that happen so fast? It's a mentality thing. If that's all you're offering, which pisses me off about the Yankees with Andujar, you're not going to sit here and tell me Urshela is better than Andujar. I'm not buying that. I'm not. Because guess what?
For some reason, they giving Andujar the business.
Exactly.
I don't understand it.
And what's puzzling me about him is the way the Yankee mentality is. I can understand if you're 3, 4, 5 hitters, they're predominantly your home run hitters. Nowadays, they got home run hitters batting second, whatever. But the Yankees didn't have a lot of hitters, which Andujar was. Real. Andujar numbers don't lie.
You fading in and out.
Andujar should have won Rookie of the Year. Right. And for all of those nonsense guys, and I'm not calling nobody out on this podcast, that were like, oh, the Yankees are going to let LeMahieu go. And then all of a sudden you're reading the Post, which I still read, guys. I read the Post here in North Carolina. They have an app for that. All of this nonsense. All these people. He wanted to be a Yankee. That's all we needed to know. He wanted to be a Yankee. Come hell or high water, he was going to be a Yankee. Okay, we let him put his little feelers out there. But at the end of the day, he wanted to be a Yankee. The Yankees have a lot bigger issues than LeMahieu. Yeah. Trust me.
Yeah.
And Aaron Judge happens to be one of them.
Yep.
Right. 3 years in a row, he's been injured.
Yeah. Right. And the other thing, and getting back to what I want to jump in on what Dom said. See, this is what people are not realizing. When you play through like a regular season, right? This is just a formula that I come up with. And Dom, you said you a numbers guy. So think about it. Most teams, they lucky if they got one good frontline starter that they can put out there on your rotation. Some teams might have two, right? So you feasting. So say you come in, you play the 3-game set. Say we catch you. Say you threw your ace and your second dude the last series. So I'm getting your 3, 4, and 5 starters, and I bash these dudes, and my numbers look fat over 62 game season. Then when the playoffs or that thing gets condensed, and you facing the best pitchers, you not hitting home runs. You gotta manufacture runs, and you see, you see Judge and Stanton looking like Bugs Bunny, like the ball is floating, and there's like 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out, like on one pitch, and then they get away because you got, and what you mentioned, you made two excellent references in Andujar and Gleyber Torres. Gleyber Torres can do it all. Why is he swinging for the fences? He can hit for average. He can hit for power. If he gets on base, he can steal a base. And then with Andujar, they keep trying to find excuse, trying to say he got a 10 glove and he can't play in the field. And I'm like, what do you do? I don't know, what are you guys doing with this kid? Like, why y'all keep jerking him around?
He was a rookie, and in his rookie season, if I'm not mistaken, he had 10 errors. At 21 years old, he had 10 errors. Again, if you do some research, Urshela has had far more errors than that, playing multiple positions. He was a plug-in player. He comes in, he gets a little hot. He's the next Brooks Robinson. No, he's not the next Brooks Robinson.
They fell in love with the home runs. They fell in love with the home runs.
He got lucky, didn't he? First thing that happened to the Yankees, it was that first year that Judge, Sanchez, and they all got to the ALCS. They were young. They were kids. Now, all of a sudden, the expectations are out the roof.
Through the roof.
Instead of saying, we got a good young core. This is going to be around for the next 4, 5, 6 years if we play our cards right. But somewhere along that line, we just developed this mentality of home run or bust. Giancarlo Stanton won the MVP in the other league the year before the Yankees got him. He was a 290 hitter. He comes to the Yankees and he falls right in that trap. Even Didi Gregorius fell in that trap. Remember, Didi was a great slot hitter. And then all of a sudden, that short right field porch got his head. I got to pull everything. Sanchez, we had this conversation, Mark. The opposing team is bringing the ball out the dugout on a curveball that ended up at the water boy, and he swung. There's no excuse for that. That's
Sanchez.
Poor baseball.
Sanchez ain't even hitting his weight. I tell, I'd come out there and be like, yo, I'd walk out when it's funny. I don't know if they have taunting in baseball. But I'd be like, yo, you ain't getting no fastball, right? I tell him right there. I'd be right there. No linea. You're not getting a fastball, homie.
I told Mark this story. Who was the guy? Remember Soriano?
Yes.
Remember Alfonso Soriano? Great ball player, good numbers, but he couldn't hit a curveball.
Not good.
I went to this. He couldn't hit a curveball, Mark. He hit it, but he couldn't hit a curveball, especially later on in his career. So I go to this housing development apartment complex, and there's this girl working there. And my brother-in-law says, oh, my brother-in-law is a big Yankee fan. She said, my uncle used to play for the Yankees. I'm like, who? She said, Soriano. I said, oh, that guy, number 12, couldn't hit a curveball. She said, why you say that? I apologize to you, young lady, but he couldn't hit a curveball. She got mad. She spun around, started typing. I'm like, I went over there, I patted her on the shoulder. I said, I'm sorry, I'm just a Yankee fan. But that's how the Yankees are now. If you get a pitcher, or let's say, like you said, Carl, when you get to the playoffs, it ain't no more of this 5-man rotation. The rotation shrink. So you're facing the best 3 pitchers they got the whole series. However they balance that out with days off, rest days, rain out, you're facing the best 3 pitchers. And what's Carl thinking? He's next up in the rotation. Let me get my curveball down pat. I probably got to throw 10 fastballs the whole game. and I'm just going to throw curveballs in the dirt. And guess what? It's been working. They haven't figured this out yet. It's sad, but here goes LeMahieu. He's the, he's actually the odd
He's
man
the best
out when
hitter.
it comes
He's
to
one of
that.
the best hitters in baseball, and you had to bring him
hitter.
back.
Yeah,
you had to bring him back.
I kept saying that. I'm sorry, Matt.
And when Chandler and all was saying that they don't like Cashman and Steinbrenner Juniors because they think that they are sort of like the Mets in that they are going to build a team that's going to be okay, maybe make the playoffs, but not win it all.
Nah, I don't think that's it. I think I think Dom hit the nail on the head. They arrived a little too early that year when they beat Houston. I'm sorry, when they lost to Houston in the LCS, because nobody expected that. And then after that, the expectations went through the roof. When realistically, you gotta hope your younger players get better, because Gleyber Torres went on a remarkable run. You just gotta hope your younger players, can continue to improve, and they didn't improve the pitching. So that's to me, and I'm a Yankee fan, and people get mad at me when I'm like, dude, they be like, yo, what you think the Yankees gonna do this year? I said, yo, man, maybe the divisional round, good year to LCS. And he's like, yo, how you hating and you a fan? I'm like, I'm a baseball fan, and I'm looking at other teams and being like, they're better. And what you're looking at is, oh, Judge had 50 home runs. We got Stanton. He gonna hit this many home runs. But then, what if they hitting them home runs and ain't nobody on base? Shit, Dave Kingman can get paid today. Dave Kingman hit 105, and 51 of his hits was home runs. And he would probably get like 15, 20 million now.
Who's the guy on it's the dude on the Orioles? Straight
Davis.
That's who he is.
Still getting paid for nothing. They paying him by the strikeouts, not the home runs.
And they can't even get rid of him.
No, they can't.
Horrible contract. But get into the Yankees. What do you think now? I know they still have some shaping up to do in terms of the pitching staff. Garrett Cole, Kluber, Jermaine coming back, and some of the other pitchers that we have, Montgomery. What do you think we have?
And Tanaka's still there, right?
No, he's a free agent right now.
Oh, he is. I think he'll come back to them, because the whole thing with him.
Starter?
Yeah, because the whole thing with him is they've been masquerading him as a top guy, and he's not.
Right.
And they've been lucky, because remember when they first got him, he had that slight UCL tear.
Still got it.
He still got it. And I keep waiting for them to sign him to like a 3-year deal, and he'd be like, "Oh shit, that's it. I gotta have surgery." But they got to figure it out. And I keep saying that's my concern with Cashman. It's been the pitching, but I also hope that they start, get away from. You already have pieces in place. Start getting some of these cats that can get on base, that can just hit the ball, not out of the park, hit the ball. Because like I keep saying, they're gonna win 90 to 100 games just on talent alone, and then they're gonna get in the playoffs. And as a team got starters, they not fearing them dudes. Like look when certain teams got pitchers, they come in and mow them dudes down. Right. And
Voit is going to have another good year.
Who's that?
Voit.
That to me, he's that Ursala dude. Like that's that dice roll. Like these dudes, they don't have a track record, and you're going, like Janet. What have you done for me lately?
He's had a good 90 or so games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had a good abbreviated season last year. Go ahead, Don.
If the Yankees were smart, and I'm not saying I'm smarter than the Yankees, you got LeMahieu. He could play anywhere.
Yep.
Why not get Didi back on the low? Then you put Torres back to second base. You could put Andujar or Urshela at third. You got LeMahieu at first. Your outfield is pretty solid.
Did they bring back? They brought back Gardner too, I think.
Again?
Yeah, I think for one more year, yeah.
Wow.
But when it comes to the Yankees pitching, if you take Cole, Kluber, let's say Tanaka comes back, Jermaine, and like Carl said, you're going to win 92, 98 games on the low just out of sheer talent and weakness of your own division. Let's just be honest. The American League East is not what it used to be. And they play about 16 games against each one of those teams. If you get to the playoffs, let's say you're shrinking that rotation anyway, and you're throwing Cole, Kluber, Jermaine. Jermaine's the wild card. If he comes back the way he was before his, misstep, and who's to say Severino might not be back?
That's true. Can't bank on that.
He comes back. I'm just saying, Carl, hypothetically, he comes back in, let's say, June, July. You acquired a pitcher without losing no assets. You're actually acquiring your own pitcher. And that's what they're doing with Jermaine. You're actually acquiring a good pitcher without mortgaging the farm.
Yeah, I think Jermaine is key.
Guys.
He's the wild card. He's the key because he was pitching well. And you know what's and it's funny because stuff like this never used to happen with the Yankees before. Like they get these diamond in the roughs. And remember, Jermaine kind of got forced into pitching. Like they had him in the pen and he got forced into starting for them. And then he was lights out. And then, he was really kind of carrying them for a while. And then this whole thing kind of happened. So you're right. So the thing I'm looking at now, like you're saying, look, if they do have a plan and they don't have to give up any assets, that's fine. Because then also, if you do get Severino back, you don't need Severino back for the regular season. You know what I'm saying? You need him for October. So I just feel like they need to shore up their lineup a little bit. I think when a guy like Ursala had the numbers that he had, you need to start dangling that fool's gold to these people that's going to look at them 30 home runs and jump on that dude and stop shafting Andujar because he's the player. Out of any of the three dudes you mentioned, Voit, Ursala, he's the best player. And he's young. And y'all keep trying to say, he can't do this, he can't do that. And you're going to trade him somewhere and he's going to be an all-star.
What would have happened if the chips would have fell where they were supposed to fall? And I'm not saying because I'm a Yankee fan. I always say numbers don't lie. People lie with numbers. He was the rookie of the year. He was the rookie of the year. Sheer numbers said Andujar's the rookie of the year.
And didn't he play because somebody got hurt? Didn't he play because somebody got hurt that year? Well, like when he fought, I forgot who it was. Like, was it Drury or somebody? That got like a concussion.
When's the last time you heard of a team giving up on a rookie of the year the next year?
Ooh, never. Never.
Joe Charbonneau?
Yeah, Joe Charbonneau.
That's about it.
When's the last time you heard that?
But they didn't give up on him. He just sucked after that.
He had the most extra base hits of any rookie in Major League Baseball history. As a rookie. In one season.
What he had, 40 doubles, 42 doubles, something.
He had like 100 and something extra bases.
Dom, I'm gonna date
home runs, guys.
Dom, I'm gonna date myself here. You know who he kind of reminds me of a cat back in the day, and he used to float around. He played with the Dodgers, and he used to just he'd be on their team, but he was always in the mix when they had something going on. Mariano Duncan, like he could hit. He could run, he could do a lot of different things. Yeah.
He's a good fielder.
And I'm looking at him and I'm like, what is it that y'all don't see? Like who did he mess with somebody in the upper front office daughter in spring training or something? Like, why y'all got it in for this kid? Because when I look at him, you know what I see? Ball player. So I don't know what it is they don't see. I don't know what they don't see. And I just think they're gonna slip up and they're gonna trade him.
Excel somewhere else. Let's move on a little.
Somewhere like the Nationals.
Right. Center fielder George Springer signs with the Toronto Blue Jays for 6 years, $150 million.
Yeah, he got. Yeah.
Michael Brantley didn't re-sign with them. He went back to Houston for 2 years. What do y'all think of George Springer signing with the Blue Jays?
I mean,
Blue Jays got a little crew.
They got a crew. Do the Blue Jays have any pitching though?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, because
tell you now.
Yeah, because they could be, that'll be that AL softball game where you looking at it and the score like 10-9.
Yeah, like it's been with them for how long?
Yeah, it's been for a while. And here's the thing: they got Springer, but ain't they got like 5 outfielders? The dudes they had weren't bad.
They got Lourdes
Gurriel. Yeah.
Toscar Hernandez.
All them dudes. Oh, Teoscar. Yeah.
Teoscar. Vlad Jr. plays third.
Yep.
Bichette plays shortstop. Biggio plays second. DH is Randall Grichuk.
They got the legacy squad, right? Everybody pops. These are
their projected starters.
But let me tell you this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead with the starters.
Heon Jinru, Robbie Ray, Ross Stripling, Nate Pearson, Tanner Roark, and Tyler Chatwood.
That's touch and go.
10-9 games for them.
Yeah, it'll be 10-9. But here's the thing: when they got
a minute, remember when they had Donaldson and all of those guys hitting 30, 40
I'm looking
at
these guys' ERAs, and only one of them, the Asian cat, he's the only one with an ERA under 3.5. Everybody else is 4.41.
You gotta prorate that for the AL.
Right.
Yeah.
So the AL when it's 4 in the AL, you actually good, and then the NL they be like, yo, bro, you got to go to the pen or be long relief.
Carl hit it on the head. They'd be a hell of a softball team outside Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
Right.
And
but
again, the division they're in, which in all actuality, guys, I'm not shitting on nobody, but it has gotten weaker. The Orioles suck. The Red Sox ain't what they used to be. And Toronto, because of that ineptitude in that division, they'll hover around water, but they won't make the playoffs. No.
Yeah.
No, they won't. And you know what? He took the money. God bless him. He's a 32-year-old center fielder. Mm-hmm. He's a decent center fielder. He's not.
I wanted him to come to the Mets.
Me too, because he would have fit in better with the Mets. They have a better plan because we always say this, Mark. I would trade a couple of the Yankees players if I had the Mets pitching staff.
Right.
Yeah. Some of the guys on the Yankees, they'd be on another team right now because you can't pass up that staff the Mets have.
Yeah,
one of the closer.
And the Mets just picked up another pitcher.
Well, let me ask you this: are the Mets gonna move Lugo back to closing?
They are undecided. He should stay.
Yeah,
I would keep him as a closer because
is Diaz still? They still got Diaz and Betances. They still got Edwin. Yeah, yep. And I do like, and I will say that I know we kind of veering off a little bit because we was talking about Springer, but I love getting a guy like Lindor. Lindor is a guy the Mets never used to get in the past. The Mets would have been sitting up there talking about, like me and you, Mac, are sitting there. Should we do it? Should we do it? Let's think about it. And then somebody else signed him. And I'm glad they finally pulled the trigger because the fans are gonna love seeing this dude play, man. But getting back to Springer.
Here's the funny thing about Lindor. The Mets got him under the table. They still had to meet him at arbitration.
Mm-hmm.
So they checked the boxes. Yeah, they checked the boxes. Now, what happens next year? This ain't the NFL. They don't franchise that gas for 25 years. So are the Mets gonna? That kid's a stud. I had a conversation with somebody. No shade against Jose Reyes, none whatsoever. I like Reyes. Try to compare them to.
There's no comparison, man. Come on.
No.
That's
somebody.
Carl Reyes was that was my dude.
Yeah. That's baseball blasphemy.
I stay on Twitter just to piss people off. But again, I try to put good research in it. I just don't say shit off the top of my head.
Right.
Reyes was a good ball player.
Yeah.
But Dom,
And the Mets let him go when they should have re-signed him, but that was the Will Ponzi's being Will Ponzi's.
Yeah, but
Did he
see,
go to
kind of
Toronto?
no, he went to Colorado, I think. Did he go to Colorado?
I thought he went to
Was it
Toronto.
No, he went to Toronto first.
Or Toronto, then Colorado. Okay, but
And the wheels came right off.
yeah, they did. You know.
And then the Mets brought him back, and they had him playing second. They had him playing third. They ain't batting him leadoff no more. I was sitting there going, he's a leadoff hitter. Why you got him batting eighth and seventh?
Because he couldn't hit. He was never a Pete Rose. I mean, he
Yeah.
was a decent hitter.
No, he could hit. He
wasn't. I'll tell you what. He was a good, flashy. He had range. I don't think he was a better infield. I know it's going to piss y'all off. I think
keep
the best
fading
infield
it.
No,
the Mets have had it.
he might piss Mac off because I thought he left a lot on the table. I didn't think he was good as he should have been.
I agree
I
with
didn't
you.
think I didn't think he was good
The
as
best, the best infield that the Mets have had in years is going to piss y'all off. Is Cano. Cano is a hell of a defensive player.
Why would it piss anybody off? Cano is nice. Cano is nice.
Some people are very sensitive toward Reyes. No shade. But again, like Carl said, he left too much to be because again, when the Mets sent him to Toronto, he became that Jose.
Well, they didn't
Reyes.
send him. They let him leave.
But Mark, see,
let
him leave after he won the batting title. But go ahead, Carl.
But here's where I disagree with you. I don't think they should have re-signed him because you see what they would have got. Nothing.
Exactly.
He actually put it all together that year to hit the batting title. But see, that's that whole thing. You know, when you start talking and playing the stock market, and the brokers telling you past performance doesn't guarantee future results. They was paying him for that season. And then he would have been like, gotcha, because he would have had the bag. And then his legs would have hurt again. And then he sit up there, and I'd be like, no, man, there's no reason a cat like you that was hitting both. He was a switch hitter, right? Hitting both ways, had the speed he had. Had a
little pop in his back.
Had some pop. Should not have been hitting 300 something and stealing 60, 70 bases a year. But these dudes, I don't know where the game is. But as you guys were circling back to the Mets pitching staff, the Mets have had arms for a minute, and I got a lot of Met fans at work. Yeah, and I got a lot of Met fans at work. Every year they be coming in and they be like, "Oh man, it's this, it's that." I'm like, dude, you need to quit whining every year. Y'all got arms. I said, y'all got arms, and I say arms. I ain't saying two guys. Y'all sitting up there sometimes with four guys, four legitimate starters, 5 starters, and that's why I keep hoping they get the other part of it right, because a cat like Lindor could set this whole thing on fire.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
If they get the DH, and imagine Dom Smith gets to play DH or Alonso plays DH.
Yeah, but I don't want the DH in the NL.
No,
I don't either, but I'll take it this year so the Mets can excel.
Yeah,
I'm a Yankee fan. I always say this. I'm a Yankee fan, but I don't hate the Mets. I'm from New York. I don't hate the Brooklyn Nets. I'm not one of those who's the king of New York. I'm not into that because I'm a Knicks fan. And we haven't been the king of puppy chow in so long that I avoid those arguments. It's just not.
But you still would like to see the Nets do well. And if you enjoy basketball, you're just going to enjoy basketball.
Exactly.
Like I see when I watch the Mets, and I'm happy if they do well.
Exactly. And that's why I know.
Huh?
You're a Yankee fan first?
Yeah, Yankee fan. But when the Mets started getting me hooked though, when I saw 2 dudes that look just like me, Strawberry and Gooden. Because I'm looking at them dudes and I'm like, them dudes like 2 years younger than me. Yep. Out there balling.
I was upset when they traded Hubie Brooks, but I understood the move because Hubie Brooks.
You had Hubie.
I told you
with
that
the
story, Mark.
Well,
what pissed me off the most was Kevin Mitchell. I tell you these stories all the time.
How nice World was.
For Kevin,
1986,
nice guy.
I was stationed in Germany waking up at 2:00 in the morning to watch the Mets,
Mm-hmm.
watching the baseball game, then going to work because I was glued. I mean, and Mark brought me back because that National League Championship against Houston, which I was waking up at 2:00 in the morning, I think that shit was as exciting or not more exciting.
It was more exciting than the World Series.
It was. It was.
That was insanity.
And see, if you telling me you waking up to watch games, Dom, I'm sure you probably remember this because I used to be up doing the same thing. I remember it was just something that year when they played, you felt like they was never out of a game or they would come back to win. And I never forget one game, man, them dudes was losing and they was playing San Diego. And San Diego was about to rally in the last inning. And these dudes pulled a double play, like at the plate and third base. Like San Diego had dudes on second and third and nobody out. And I was sitting up there, oh my God. And it was just the way that they were winning games. And then, sometimes, man, when you see certain things, that really lets you know how it's a team game. Like they just had a real good collection of dudes. But what I didn't understand later was why Cashin just blew the thing up. Like why was he trading? Like why people kept saying, oh, you can't keep Dykstra and Mookie. They both play the same position. Why not? And then you trade both of them and get a second baseman and put them in center field, Juan Samuel. Like I didn't understand what they was doing. But I'm going back. I'm going too far back.
Yeah, no, you're not. But I think somewhere along the line, like we as fans, the same way me as a fan seeing the wheels coming off Reyes, you got to remember, guys, the Mets blew a lot of opportunities from 84 to 86.
That's correct.
In 85, they should have won. In 86, they should have won. They should have won in 87. They lost the NLCS in 88. They had a hell of a
and they were better in 88.
And I think somewhere along the line, you saw the wheels coming off this. Doc Gooden not showing up for the parade. Darryl Strawberry having some issues. Then there was the conflict with Christianity and this and that in the clubhouse. You saw these wheels slowly but surely.
They messed up by not bringing back. They didn't want to get. Ray Knight only wanted $1 million, and they were like, "Well, we'll give you $800,000." No, give him $1 million. He practically won the World Series for y'all.
And remember, they had him and Howard Johnson.
Yeah,
right. And they were enamored
back in the days. That's back in the days that Carl's talking about. There's nothing wrong with saying, I got 2 good third basemen. I got 2 good center fielders. You got that luxury to choose your poison.
Even when
I just think somewhere along the line, the Mets organization, they was like, this has been a Molotov cocktail bomb, and somebody's going to put the match to it. We might as well stop it now.
But listen, man, they just had the Midas touch because even when they stuck Judd Nelson looking Tim Tuffle out there, he was getting hits, making plays. Like it would just be like, yo, you feeling in today? And you look up this dude, he done had 2 hits, 3 hits. Yeah, you was like, wow. And then the next thing you knew, it was like they just had the dispersal draft. They got rid of everybody, man.
It's like it was like an expansion team came in.
Yeah.
But you know what? You got to give them credit, guys. They caught lightning in a bottle.
And they wrote it.
It was very fun to watch. For a good 4 or 5 year stretch, guys, they was a hell of a team to watch. They should have beat the Dodgers. They should have beat the Dodgers. But Oral Hershiser was, untouchable that year. But they still should have beat the Dodgers. But that's where the wheels really started coming off.
Just think in 86, if Dykstra doesn't hit that home run and they got to face Mike Scott.
Yeah.
They would have lost, probably. Because they couldn't do nothing with him.
Even that being said, Mark, it was just something magical where you never thought they was out the game. You was sitting there waiting, like during that World Series game with Era. I'm sitting there at 5 minutes to 6 in the morning, tying my boots up, and I'm like, don't leave. Something's gonna happen. You was just on that edge, and then what happened? And I'm like, I'm gonna be late for work. Everybody gonna understand.
Grandfather took me to a game against the Cubs, and Ron Darling pitched.
Mark, I hate to cut y'all off, but I gotta go pick my wife up. Damn.
All right, brother.
No problem.
Thanks, fellas. Good to meet you, Carl.
Good talking to you, man. Nice to meet you, brother.
Thanks, brother.
Carl, you gonna rock with me for a little bit?
Yeah, I'll rock with you for a bit.
Let's get into some the football, the NFL Divisional Playoffs. Let's start with Green Bay versus the LA Rams.
You got a prediction on that?
No. That's the game that happened already.
Oh, okay. Oh, how the game actually played out. Well, Here's the thing. I watched the game. I thought that Aaron Donald not being able to play to his full capacity was big, because I thought the Rams was going to have to try to, even though how nice Aaron Rodgers is, I kind of feel like you got to try to stop Green Bay from being able to run the ball, because that way you don't fall for the play action, because you're probably not going to cover Devontae Adams anyway. But at least you could try to maybe double him. And if you look at them Scantling dudes and all them other dudes, Rodgers be mad at them dudes, because them dudes be dropping too many passes. So if you can stop the run and try to make them as one-dimensional as possible, then you might have a chance. And I think the Rams, like I said, Donald was just beasting, and then he got hurt. And I think that was big as well. But then I didn't think the Rams, when I look at Green Bay, I don't think their defense is that good. I think they can bring pressure at times on the quarterback, but I do see teams run the score up on them sometimes. And I thought the Rams was doing what I thought they were going to do, like with Cam Akers and running the ball. But they just ain't have enough. And with homeboy being hurt, that made a difference as well. Because the Rams looked like they was trying to get back in it for a minute. And that's what I'm kind of like on the fence about Green Bay even going forward. Because everybody else they play, they can score points. And if you can take away something from Green Bay, that's going to make – and with Rodgers, don't get it twisted. Rodgers is nice. But I just feel like if you can take that running game away and just make them have to get back there and throw it, it makes a big difference.
Right.
So,
I didn't think the Rams were going to win, because they played a little – mixed this year. Some against certain teams they should beat. They lost to or they struggled with, and it's Rodgers. So I'm like, Rodgers is going to do what Rodgers is going to do. And yes, Donald being hurt impacted the Rams more than we thought. And their defense is very good, but him not being there, it impacted them a lot. Yeah,
because you figured he would be able to get some pressure. And even though, what's the cornerback's name? Ramsey. Even though, Ramsey would probably have tried to match up with Devontae, Devontae still probably would be able to cook him. But at least you have somebody you can throw over there. Or if you just make up your mind and say, look, we're going to double this dude. And you got to throw it to Valdez Scantling and the other dude and the Lazard dude.
And the tight end.
And the tight end. Well, Tanyan makes plays. But I think Tanyan kind of makes plays because he gets in the seams because everybody else is open and they don't cover him. But I think with Scantling and the rest of the dudes, if you notice some of the games that Green Bay has struggled in and they've lost, when teams have been able to take away Devontae or not let him blow up, these guys don't make the plays. Like you see Aaron, he be giving them like your mama giving you the making noise in church look when them dudes be dropping the balls. Because you see that a lot. So, we'll see what happens going forward. Like, I just think the Rams, and you were right. You were spot on about something about the Rams. The Rams, it was a few games they were playing people this year because they killed me on my betting pools. I'm like, the Rams going to get blown out, right? And then the Rams just smashed somebody who you think they was not going to even be in the game against. And then the Jets will stomp a mud hole in them. Like, it's like, not the Jets. If somebody else they played waxed them. And you like, yo, what is this? Like, y'all like up and down. It's like certain teams. And then they went on a nice little run. And I think that was the DOS effects that got people thinking they was going to do something.
Right. Right. Yep. Baltimore and Buffalo. A lot of people getting on Lamar, blaming it on him.
Hey,
what's your take on what happened between Baltimore versus Buffalo?
My take on Baltimore and Buffalo is, all right, couple things. The wind was a factor and all that, but when does Tucker miss field goals like that? And and so you figure that's 9 points that was kind of like off the board. So when Lamar threw that interception, that was the ball game. But if they would have still had those 9 points, that wouldn't have been ball game right there.
Right.
But the other thing is, in Lamar's defense, I do feel when I watched that game a little bit, when I was looking at him, it looked like sometimes he was really trying to stay in the pocket. Because usually he just take off. But you saw him running around a little bit. And I was like, this dude is actually trying to get something downfield. But, I don't want to knock nobody, bro. But Willie Snead can't be your number one dude. And that's why them dudes be draped all over.
That's what you text me.
Yeah, them dudes. That's why them dudes be draped all over Mark Andrews, because they know where he's going with the rock. So, and when you have times when, and then also too, Lamar's got to improve his game as far as his accuracy, because one time Lamar was in the pocket and he danced and he circled around to his left and got out to his right, so he got away from the rush. Mark Andrews was coming back to him, running up the sideline, and he skidded that ball. And I'm like, dude, first of all, you got away from the pressure. You can't miss your receiver that badly. Like it's different if you under duress, but he literally got out of the pocket and got away from these dudes, and all he had to do was just throw the ball. And he did some old throw it off his foot, and it didn't even reach Mark Andrews. So in fairness, like what the critics are saying, he needs to work on that part of his game, right? But also on the other side of it, he got to have somebody to throw the ball to as well.
They need better receivers. They need a running back who can catch the ball.
Oh,
which
Dobbins.
They don't really have.
Oh, Dobbins. And then that was another play too, because when they brought the Huntley dude in there, if Dobbins doesn't drop that pass, that's probably a touchdown, and they probably like right there. So, and then there was another pass that Lamar threw to him earlier that he dropped, that he would have got a big play. So, and then also too, I think the OC, when you watch some of the Ravens formations, I'm like, dude, everybody is like, y'all running. Like y'all got like all.
It's either gonna be a handoff or some ball, or some kind of fake, and they're gonna run.
You know the saying, when the defense have 10 in the box, y'all be having 10 in the box in the backfield. Like, it's like, how y'all got that? Like, y'all have a jumbo formation and it be 3rd and 17. Like, come on, man. Y'all got to do better than that, man.
Yeah.
Y'all got to do better than that.
Yeah, they got some moves to make. I know people saying Lamar is figured out, and that can be true in a way. He's like you said, he has to work on being a better pocket passer and just being better than one read quarterback. He reads once, and everybody in the room, everybody in the stadium know where you're going with the ball.
Yeah.
So they got to be better on that.
I don't see him I really don't ever see him like kind of go to a second read or look somebody off, like you said. It's like if his arm is caught, that's where he going. You know? Yeah. And Ronan nailed it. Yep.
Yeah. And Marquise Brown, he was non-existent in that game.
Well, the problem to me with Marquise is a little dude. So you either need a slot dude that's going to go down in there and catch the ball, because Marquise is – look, next time you see them play, or if you go back and see any tapes of the plays from last week, he's a little dude, and he has no interest in going in between the hash marks. He trying to get it and I don't blame him, because he's a small dude. He's trying to get it and get going. So a guy like that can't be your number one guy. He's a guy where – you're throwing it down the field, or you see he's in the slot, you're making a play, but you can't keep throwing it to him. That's why when you look at him some weeks, you look up this dude that caught 4 passes for 128 yards, and then the next week it's like he didn't catch nothing. And you be like, yo, how is it these wild fluctuations? But Ronan nailed it, man. LJ, for somebody that has the escapability that he does, That's something that he needs to work on. Like when
And the
you
arm
break,
that he has.
yeah, when you break pocket, that you're actually turning it into a schoolyard or a backyard type of play because like we can plan for you. I could come out and I can say I got 2 deep safeties, right? And
Right.
we're gonna have a spot for you. But guess what? When you drop back and then you start rolling around and then you start breaking the pocket, that makes the defense break down because then dudes got to make a decision. Are they gonna come to you? They're gonna try to keep you from running. And
Right.
what he needs to learn how to maximize is the threat is always there for him to run. So if he works on his touch and throwing on the run, he's gonna be a beast because you're gonna have to commit to something. But you can't be missing dudes when you roll out and the dude's standing on the sideline by himself and you bounce the pass to him. Come on, man.
Right.
Like, yeah, you can't do that. Can't do that. But he's young, you know, and he just started what for the last 2 years? Is it 2 years?
3.
3. So as with anything, man, I'm not gonna bash the brother because we have the mediocre, awful, you know who type of QBs that stay around forever. So as long as he's there,
Excuse me, sir. Are you talking about Kirk Cousins? He is he's the John Concack of football.
Yeah. Yep, Mr. Picks and fumbles. And then look at how high potent that offense is, and this dude still can't get him in the playoff.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. He said Brown is a dynamic number 2 wide receiver with elite speed.
Oh yeah, Marquise, man. Yeah, but if you sit up here and you get this game, we gotta throw it to you 10 times, you be like, nah, homie, throw it over the top. he ain't taking that licking. So that's why I keep saying they can't have guys like Snead. They keep trying to do the retread thing. Like Dez Bryant is just not the Dez Bryant we know. He's still a physical specimen. But then again, I can't say that he's not because I didn't really see them throw the ball to him like that. So you know, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's the offensive philosophy they need to change a little bit. I think you made an excellent point about the league catching up to you. I think the league makes adjustments. But what you have to do is then you're going to have to improve on certain things. So if you look at it like he's not straight running away from people like he did before. But if they have an OC and if the general manager is worth their salt, they'll get some guy off of whatever team that can catch the ball over the middle. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about this. Look how much Diggs has made Josh Allen look good. Everybody talk about Diggs was gonna go to Buffalo and be in wide receiver purgatory, and he's the reason that they balling like that.
I saw that move, and there's a brother that I'm connected to on Twitter. He's a Minnesota fan, and I'm like, yo, he was trying to defend Kirk Cousins. I'm like, bro, he's not that good. That's why Stephon Diggs wanted to leave, and I'm not mad at Stephon Diggs for wanting to leave. And he went to Buffalo, and Buffalo, like Chandler said, they broke down Josh Allen's game and they made him better. And now you have a number 1 receiver who can run every route. He can catch anything, and he's a physical specimen. And he's one of the best. He proved this year he's one of the better wide receivers in the league. And Buffalo benefited from it.
Diggs been nice, but you know what? This is what they do. Diggs came. I know he had a couple injuries here and there, but then he was playing. And because when you ball like that, teams pay attention to you. So guess what? Throwing the ball to his boy Thielen. And I'm not gonna knock Thielen and say Thielen can't ball, but Thielen's catching all the passes. And then you start saying, oh, maybe we don't need this dude. Right? And then and not realizing that when you have cats, the way the game is played, if you have skilled players, you can't cover everybody. That's what makes Kansas City so tough, man, because you got Kelsey, he's one of the better tight ends in football, but then you gotta pay so much attention to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, if you don't pay attention to Tyreek Hill, he can do like he did to the Buccaneers. He done had 200 yards in one quarter because you can't cover him. Like you standing there trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like you say, okay, yeah, like you sitting here, and so what you wind up doing, people don't understand how that works out. That means you gotta pull a safety over, and you still gotta have the linebacker. Yeah, drop a linebacker because if he catch it, yeah, because he could catch a crossing pattern and just beat everybody down the field. So what that does is that takes away, and then people, and it's funny how people don't realize how it is with scheming. And I know I'm going off the track here, but I got to take my obligatory shot at bums like Gase and Nagy. It's like, dude, I was like, dude, what type of scheming y'all doing?
Right.
So,
right, and let's talk about that game, Cleveland versus KC.
Ooh, well, I tell you this,
I knew it would be close.
I knew it would be close. You know why? Because I figured that Cleveland was going to be able to run the ball, and I thought they would be able to get a little pressure. I didn't really think that they was going to stop Kansas City, but I thought the difference would be, and I'll be honest with you, I thought the game was close, but to me, it got a little bit to the point where Cleveland fell behind, and I thought they still should have been giving the ball to Chubb. And then who did Kareem Hunt piss off that they didn't put him in the game or he didn't touch the ball? Like that didn't make no sense to me. Like, and then I can't listen to Romo and them cats because I don't always want to hear the anointing. I don't want to hear the Baker Mayfield anointing. They are there because of Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Right.
Yep.
Them two dudes. And then I don't understand. What was y'all keeping Kareem Hunt fresh? Like y'all felt like he couldn't get back on the field? Was he wanted in Kansas City? Like that should have been, we gonna run the ball down your throat. Ball control, and yep. And then Ronan nailed it. They used me because think about it, like Hardman and Robinson. It'll be 1 week, them dudes 1 catch for 4 yards, and then you nick up the next week they didn't caught, and they do. And Hill and Kelsey, because of the way that they scheme, they create those mismatches. Now, what would be funny?
A lot of attention to them.
Yeah. Now, what would be funny is like a dude like Hardman, if he's like a free agent, some team would be ready to sign this dude as their number 1 and don't understand. No, it was because he was playing with them other dudes. He was wide open. Like he ain't nice like that, But I thought the Browns had a good opportunity, man. They played well. I just felt they got away from the run a little bit too early, and I didn't understand. And I didn't understand what they were doing with Hunt. Like, did Hunt even carry the ball in the first half?
Not really.
So and KC's defense is not like a lock you down defense.
They're not great. They're decent. They got a decent defense. The offense scores so many points, so they don't have to worry. Just don't give up 25 points, right? Or even if you did, you'll probably still win. But I just thought it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be a better game plan of Hunt and Chubb. But I think also too, you got to look at it like this: if Stefanski's, the guys realize what they're playing for, and sometimes you might alter what you do a little bit. Because remember, when they stopped him a couple times and then Mahomes got hurt, Chubb was trucking them dudes, him and Hunt both. And I was like, y'all should have been doing this. You know why? Y'all would have had them dudes wore out by now. Yep. Yeah, and Henny threw his interception. I was sitting there going, I was like, oh, Cleveland could win this game because he's going to do that again. And for whatever reason, we talk about teams arriving early. I said that Cleveland 2 years ago would be a playoff team. Guys were like, nah, I'm like, look at their talent. Offensively and defensively, they got a lot of talent.
And look at what they was doing with the O-line, and then you saw who they started getting, the running backs.
Right, and then when they got Hunt, he makes that offense better, and because he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a good running back, and Chubb is the man. Yeah. I was telling somebody like when people was talking about, they got Beckham and Landry. I said, I'll be honest with you. I said, too bad Odell got hurt.
I said, because they really don't need both of them. The way that they built,
Right.
they should just be able to throw the ball down the field a little bit. And, you know, maybe you could trade somebody to get something what you need. Because Odell ain't getting 90 passes no more. Not in that type of offense.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
and not with the tight ends they have. They Njoku and what's his name that they picked up from Atlanta. They both can catch the ball too.
Oh, that's right. The other cat from Atlanta, Hooper. Was it Hooper?
Yeah, Hooper.
Yeah. And I think that and see, the thing for me at times, and this is just the way I look at it. Like I said, it's always the anointing. I said, listen, man. Baker could be the game manager. You don't need Baker slinging the ball all over the place, because that's when y'all lose. When y'all let him start slinging the ball all over the place. Let him make these plays, roll him out, do what he got to do. But every time when I watch them and they want to come up or they doing whatever, it's Baker. It's Baker. I'm like, yo, no. Y'all gonna understand. Some of these teams, when they start on that come up, they punch you in the mouth type of teams. Remember when Seattle started on that come up and they were with Marshawn, and then the 49ers started, they come up at the same time? They were two teams that when you played them, you knew it was a punch you in the mouth type of game. And then when you start to see that, the Browns look like they are on that path. Because, you know, they look like if they keep on that path, you know. Oh, look, Ronan dropping it. He said KC's the updated version of the Fouts. Yep.
Mm-hmm. High power offense. Yeah, they do. They do have an average defense.
Yeah, at least KC just has the fortune of being used to playing in Missouri, because the Chargers, man, they look like they would have went to the Super Bowl a couple times. They just had rotten luck. I remember that year they went to Cincinnati and it was like 7 degrees or something, or 10 degrees below zero. And then one year they lost to the Raiders when I thought they was going to spank the Raiders, and the Raiders beat them in San Diego, but they had no defense. So, you know, it's crazy. Yep, for sure. I know one play. One last thing going back to that game. And remember when the play to get the first down when Henny threw the out and that clinched the game?
Yeah.
Did you see all them talk about Randy Reed? So I guess Bieniemy had nothing. He just took the play sheet from him and called that shit himself, huh? Remember when they needed to get the first down to seal the game? Like they got that first down and they went for it on fourth down? And they were like, oh, they're going for it. And they were like, oh, Andy Reid. And I'm like, yo, what the hell? So this dude is just sitting there with the headphones on? He didn't make the call? Come on, man. It's all
AR Reid. It's all Andy Reid. You know how that is.
Yeah. And you going to the next game where I didn't want nobody to win because I wouldn't have cared about either quarterback.
The old man game, Tampa Bay Bucks versus NO Saints. Larry is somewhere pissed. My brother Larry, I feel for you, brother. I know.
Oh, he's a Drew Breesy fan?
He's a Saints fan. You could cry on this shoulder, bro. It's all right. He was on Facebook living.
Oh man.
Yeah, Ronan's right. The Browns are like a 90s version of the Buffalo Bills. But yeah, Carl, why you didn't want Tampa? Why you don't like Drew Breesy?
Hang on one sec, Mark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tampa Bay did what they had to do in this game. You know, the Saints, the interceptions by Drew Brees couldn't overcome what Tom Brady was doing. Tom Brady is just one of the best out there, and he proved that. I'm gonna end this now. Holla at us Friday. We'll be back. This is In the Paint, the realest show in sports. I'm Max611. Follow us on YouTube, the In the Paint Media Group. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitter at In the Paint Media. Follow me on Twitter at the real Max611. Follow my partner in crime, Rodney Jones. Follow him on Twitter at Real R Jones. Peace, y'all. Thank y'all for watching with us. Peace.